Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's the Leeds United 3, Rotherham 0 match review. I'm Stephen Brown and with me as ever is Jayson Booker. Jayson, how we doing, mate?
Very well, my friend, very well. Another weekend, another win.
Just standard in it now for Leeds.
That's kind of how it feels, isn't it?
Blimey, yeah, can't believe it. Please, if you're watching along, do like the video, get your comments in as well. If you're watching again later, please also do smash a like on the video and subscribe for more content on our teams across West Yorkshire. Full disclosure, I didn't see the game yesterday, but my man Jayson here did. Obviously, I've watched the highlights and read loads about it, and I feel almost like I've seen that type of game before. But let's get to it. Jayson, just before we kind of break it down into detail, your general thoughts on what is another really convincing victory for Leeds?
Yeah, I certainly feel like we've seen the game before. It felt very much like several of the comfortable wins we've had, certainly at home, where we got in front quite early on, but then couldn't kill the game off for a period of time. We had 2, 3, 4 chances, which should have really killed the game way before we did. We then eventually did get the goals and saw out a comfortable victory. I mean, for me, this is what more 90 minutes worth of games should look like. 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, these kind of scorelines where we're not having to worry about whether we are going to get over the line, with a 1-0 win later on. Anything can happen. I mean, they didn't have much yesterday, but there were a couple of moments when it was 1-0 where they, had crosses and corners. They were playing for fouls and free kicks all game. All game they were playing for it. They put it into the corners. A winger would chase it down. They'd feel a touch and they'd fall over. They were cheating. It was as good as cheating. And the referee were buying it. I mean, the referee had an absolute stinker of a game yesterday. Like, a stinker. And he's a Premier League referee, by the way.
What was it? Was it just kind of not...
Both teams. Yeah. I mean, the diving was a real problem. He wasn't giving them all, but he was giving some of them, which kind of exasperated the issue because it was clear that he was seeing that some of them were soft and then saying, no, play on, and Leeds would win possession. But then sometimes he was giving them, and they were the exact same. There was a tackle on Rodon, which arguably could have been a red card by Hugill. I don't know if you've seen that. It was really nasty. Really, really nasty. We're only halfway through the first half. Really on his ankle. If Rodon had had his ankle planted, it'd have been a broken ankle. It was really, really bad. The foul on Willie Nonto have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Mate, I mean, you'll never see a clearer foul. And he gave a goal kick. I mean, he scissored him. It was an awful tackle. It was just like that all game. All game, just wrong decisions, throw-ins wrong way, corners wrong way, goal kicks wrong way. It was just a really, really poor performance by the ref. But Rotherham were awful. They were really bad. I mean, they take the mantle as, for me, have been the worst team that we've seen at Ellen Road this season. They had moments up until 1-0. Long ball, they won a corner after 20 seconds. But it felt more because Leeds had not really come and woke up. And Farker said as much in his post-match presser, basically said that we weren't happy with the first 10 minutes. After that, we completely controlled the game, truthfully, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's start with the lineup then. It went back to that familiar starting 11 that we're getting used to. Some talk beforehand, would Archie start? Obviously, Connor Roberts being available for selection, but Archie's kept his place and played really well. Bamford coming back in, Nonto keeping his place on the wing. Dan James still out. Just a very settled team, isn't it, Jayson?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed not to see Dan fit and available because I just think he's so important. He's very key for us between now and the end of the season. But ultimately, Nonto has taken his chance, and I thought he was good again yesterday without scoring or assisting. I thought he played really well. He could have had a couple. He was dangerous. He was committing players. He was linking up well with Summerville and Gio and Pat. Archie played excellent. I mean, there were an argument to say we're man of the match. He wasn't my man of the match yesterday, but he was very good. Level of opposition minimal, though. We'll say to that, he'll have hard tests, but you can only play what's in front of you. For me, it's going one way with Archie in that, I mean, Connor Roberts got 20 minutes yesterday, and Archie was then brought into the midfield. I feel almost certain that is the route that Daniel Farke's going to go down, is that he will actually be the starting centre midfielder, and it'll be for Kamara to win that spot back, which is harsh because I think Kamara's been great. But I think it'll end up being Archie and Gruev in there, because to give Roberts the minutes, it'd have been very easy to just take Archie Gray off and bring Connor Roberts on, but he didn't. He put Archie into the midfield. I think he ended up rotating out Gruev and Kamara eventually. I think they both ended up coming off. And Archie was the one that was staying on the pitch. And he didn't start the game midweek against Plymouth, so he didn't have the 120 minutes to play that Gruev did. So that, makes sense that Gruev would have been saved, hopefully, for Tuesday. But for me, again, it just signals that Connor Roberts is going to come in. He will end up starting games, and Archie will take the position in midfield. But yeah, apart from that, mate, everything else feels very settled. Ampadu and Rodon look so good together, which again feels a bit harsh on Pascal, because we've all said, he's come back this season and been brilliant. But for me, I think he's behind Ampadu in that back line. I thought Ampadu was a 6, an out-and-out 6. And everything that we'd seen from him earlier on in the season kind of suggested that was right. He played against Shrewsbury in the Cup at centre-back alongside Cresswell, and he didn't look great, if you remember. Yeah. But then in this run since Stroik's been injured, he arguably looks better at centre-back because of what he can do building up play as well. I mean, I said it right from his first game. It gives us that extra outlet to be able to break down this low block. I mean, he played a pass yesterday with his left foot, pinged it to Bamford on an absolute dime. Unfortunately, Pat's first touch weren't great, and but it was an out-and-out goal-scoring chance, similar to the long ball over the top to Rutter earlier on this season that we scored from. So, I just think he has most of his game when we're in possession than Pascal does, which makes sense because in midfield.
Do you think with Ampadu replacing Stroik in that role, because obviously Stroik, kind of not the main feature of his game, but is that ball progression. His ball progression this season's been really, really good, and he's got a good pass on him, and he's a tall player. But with Ampadu, it feels like you're getting all that and more. Really, you're getting a bit more. Because I mean, let's be honest, Stroik was not good defensively last year, and there are times when he's a bit jittery. Whereas I think Ampadu just is rock solid, isn't he? I mean, it's I don't think we're losing anything, are we, by not having Pascal in that role when you've got Ampadu there?
I would argue that Pascal's probably better in the air. Against Jordan Hugo yesterday, Ampadu was coming off second best to quite a lot of the headers of a target man, which makes sense. He's like 5'10", 5'11" is Ampadu. He's all right in the air, but he's not a dominating kind of presence centre-back that a Pascal or a Joe Rodon is. But that aside, I would say Ampadu does everything else just as well, but I think he's better in possession, which, like I say, makes sense. No slight on Pascal. Ampadu's a midfielder. I think if we were to go up to the Premier League, I think Pascal has the ceiling as a centre-back to be better than Ampadu. But for what we need right now, he arguably gives us more because we've got so much possession. He suits that back three that we create when Gruev drops in better than Stroik does. Yeah. So for me, I would honestly leave it. I mean, Cresswell got some minutes yesterday, which was nice to see. He got brought on. Clearly that there's been a bridge built and he wants to try and integrate him back into the system.
How long did he get, Cresswell?
He got about, I would say, probably 10 minutes, 5 minutes of the 90 and then over added time. Weren't long, but it was long enough to say that, you're back in. I trust you. You're playing minutes again. But I would say that when Pascal's fit, then minutes are going to be taken by Pascal. So Cresswell will probably end up dropping back out of the squad altogether because they're not going to need 2 centre-backs on the bench. And then what do you do with Cooper? So, we were talking before going live about squad depth. I mean, we've got so much within this squad.
Yeah. And we've let a lot of fringe players go as well, haven't we? So it really shows you. Mark, thanks for your comment. I agree with you, Jason. That's the best central defence. Please, guys, if you're not liked the video already, please make sure you're doing that. Skip, don't think Kamara has done anything wrong. He's been rock in the middle and goes underappreciated by some fans because he's not a flair player, but he's integral to the team. And this was, I was going to bring this up, actually.
I agree with this. Before you say what you're going to say there, Brandon, I 100% agree with this. I think for most fans, he's the kind of player that kind of goes under the radar. He won't be properly appreciated for everything that he does bring. his work rate is incessant. He's constantly covering ground, and his little side steps and shimmies, works and open spaces. He's a beautiful player to watch. The problem that you're going to have is that somebody has to drop out, and it's, for me, it can't be Kamara and Gray. Like they're too similar. They play too much of a similar role. So then it's Kamara or Gray, and I'd argue that Farke prefers Gray, and I think that's the route we will go down. I'm not sure, because if you're saying Kamara over Gray, then you would have the same argument that Gray doesn't deserve dropping either. So I don't know. I think it's a real tough one, mate.
Well, this is actually what I was going to kind of raise then as well, because just when you were talking about Gray before, and we did a show midweek, the Leeds United debate, guys. If you've not checked that out as well, that was basically looking at Archie Gray and how he compares to other great academy products, and he has got such a key role. It feels already, doesn't it? He's not a fringe player. He's not even a sub. Like you say, Farke seems to want him on that pitch as much as possible, and then it becomes, well, you've got this guy in on loan who's a seasoned, right back in this league. He's done very well at this level, but I agree with Skip as well. I just think Kamara's just been, he hasn't done anything wrong, and he's a bit older as well, but then you can't drop Gray. But I agree, you can't have Gray and Kamara really together in that midfield. I mean, it's kind of fascinating, but I guess when you've got a crunch of games, it's nice the fact that you can rest Archie the game in the cup, bring him on, and then, give other players minutes as well and share it around a bit. It does feel like the squad is kind of reaching this point where it's kind of perfectly meshed, doesn't it? If you can bring, Archie into midfield, get Roberts at right back, switch it around, what a brilliant position that is to be in.
It's a lovely problem to have, and the only person that needs to decide what we do with it is Daniel Farke at the end of the day. I think Archie has looked better and better. I think every opportunity he's got to play in the midfield, he looks more confident, he looks more mature, he looks ready to take the opportunity again. It almost felt like he was kind of on trial yesterday in midfield when he got that 20 minutes. It was like, okay, this is my minutes to now show that I can perform in this position and start week in, week out in this position. Skip, being almost like defending the situation. I'm not arguing with you there that, but someone does have to drop out, because Connor Roberts is a specialist right back. He's a championship winning right back last season, only a few months ago, player of the season in the championship at right back last season. He can improve our team over Archie Gray right now. And that's hard to say because Archie's done such a great job, but he can. He's going to improve what we do. I mean, we saw yesterday what he can give us. He's up and down that wing. He's defensively better than Archie. He's quicker than Archie. For me, it gives us that kind of proper balance that we've needed from fullbacks all season. So I do think that Archie needs to now go back into midfield and be as a backup to Connor on that right side. If and when Connor Roberts needs a rest or he's injured, suspended, whatever, he can then play there. But Archie takes up the role in midfield, and you only have you can only fit a certain amount of them, can't you? I mean, we're starting to see different things now as well. We're seeing over the last two games, the Plymouth game and yesterday, we've seen Gio play out wide for a little bit of the game. So Pirro came on yesterday and Gio went out to the left. So we got to see Rutter take up a different role in the team. So that then brings up another question. Could we potentially see Archie, Kamara and Gruev? You could maybe play one of them in the 10. I don't think any of them particularly suit it, but it could potentially be an option. We've got different things that we could do. We could maybe play all three of them and play without a 10, in a game where we need a little bit more dominance in midfield. So there's different things that can now come from this. It's clear. I think it's clear that we've seen Gio play in different roles over the last couple of games to see what he can bring. I mean, I know we've not got any individual performances yesterday, but he was sensational yesterday. He was just, again, on a different level, and he's starting to do different things that a 10 should do now, where they weren't necessarily doing it before. He started driving into little pockets of space and committing players. And, because he's got that kind of lanky, gangly figure where he just seems to always get to everything. The assist yesterday for the Summerville goal, as an example, kind of overruns the ball, but then manages to touch it into Summerville to take him into goal. He was sensational.
After stepping away from the defender, it's like spoiler, so far for me, he's the player of the season is Gio, because I think, although I understand how the team is working and players have had vital impact that we couldn't miss, there's just, for me, he's got that stardust as well. His personality infused with the type of player he is just phenomenal. Mark, is this team better than the promotion winning team? What do you think? And the relegated team? For me, yes, on both counts. Certainly, I think this is a far, far more talented team than the one that got promoted under Bielsa. That team was full of character. It had really strong character, strong leaders, and the way it was trained by Bielsa was incredible. It was a machine. The relegated team last year was horrific, absolutely horrific. It was, for me, one of the worst Leeds teams I've ever witnessed. Absolutely useless. I think, like we've said on previous videos, I agree with Jess. I think if this team, if you drop them in the Premier League right now, hopefully would be, 15th, something like that, maybe even a little bit higher. So yeah, it's exciting. I think, if we didn't have this Southampton and Leicester team as well, and obviously Ipswich would be incredible, I think it'd be a cakewalk. We'd be miles ahead already.
I mean, this team has now achieved more points than Bielsa's championship winning team did at the same stage. I think it goes with. I mean, I'm going to stoke a fire in a minute with something I'm going to say, but without a doubt, this team's better over the 11, over the squad. I mean, think of the squad that Bielsa had. What he had to look at, look for on the bench to change games. I mean, if Pablo, was on the bench, then we had Pablo. But apart from that, we were looking at kids. And, kids that weren't good enough, really.
When you think about what was below that starting 11, like in the championship, like, who did we have? Like Tyler Roberts and like, I can't even remember them. I'm like, who did we have?
We literally didn't have anybody. McKinstry played a little bit here and there, but we didn't have anybody that could change a game. As options, we had Berardi quite often on the bench, who used to fill in at right back, left back, or centre back. Stuart Dallas just used to play everywhere, so he kind of filled in a lot of gaps that we had. But pretty much week in, week out, we wheeled out the same team. And if you took Pablo and Ben White out of that starting 11, I mean, you were looking at a serious lack of quality. And I'm not being disrespectful to Helder Costa and Jack Harrison when I say that either, because both of them two were really important. People want to kind of scoff on Helder Costa. Helder Costa was really important in the season that we got promoted, as was Jack Harrison. But they were both. I mean, Jack Harrison's always been hot and cold. Like, he's always, streaky player. 3 assists in 3 and then none for 4 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It was the tactic, the guile, Luke Ayling, Patrick Bamford, Pablo Hernandez, Liam Cooper, the stalwarts of that team playing out of their skins week in, week out. Stuart Dallas, they really carried us through. This team has got different level of quality, level, which is why I don't think you can compare the job that Daniel Farke's doing to the job that Bielsa's doing. One thing I will say, like I said, that's going to probably stoke a few fires is I think that this team is more dominant. I think this team is I would almost say the word better. I don't think they're better to watch. I would much prefer to watch the Bielsa team, because the crash bang wallop of the team was fun. But week in, week out, we are dominating these championship teams. We're playing them off the park, mate. The problem that we're having at the moment is the clinical edge. We're not even giving up chances. I mean, Melly is literally having nothing to do pretty much for 90 minutes, week in, week out. I would say that this team controls games better than the Bielsa team did.
Well, this leads to the obvious question then. Bielsa's Leeds at its prime versus this Farke team. Who do we think's winning that? Get your answers in the comments.
Are you talking? But is Bielsa prime Premier League season 1?
No.
Championship.
Yeah, championship.
A team with Rafinha in.
Yeah, that's not. We can't compare with that. But the championship winning team for Bielsa versus this Farke team now. Oof, God, what a tasty match that would be.
We could do a debate on that on its own.
Yeah, our fellow West Yorkshire football show correspondent Lewis Sale getting his comments in. Lewis will be a happy man today after Bradford Park Avenue's win yesterday as well. Up the Ave. Football is a squad game, and the use of substitutes across the 3 breaks you're allowed is so crucial. You've got strength in depth, which is a great headache to have indeed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just so unusual for Leeds to have any strength in depth, really. But now it's what's important as well, and what I see, especially I think since Gruev has just kind of emerged in this team, is the fact that it's all right having depth in squad, but then when those players come in, how do they perform? Are they up to it? And You know, sometimes it's a case of they're a bit cold, they've not played much football, and they can't quite get up to the speed of it. I think now, if you're looking at the way Gruev's come into the team, even cameos from like Matteo Joseph, where they look super sharp and on it. You know, the way Nonto's come back into the team after not playing much football. It's not just about that depth, is it? It's about what they do when they actually get on the pitch as well.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of that comes down to Farke. I mean, Farke's man management, we spoke about it last week and midweek. I think it's been exceptional, the way that he's dealt with some of these situations, integrated players back in. You know, the way that he's built some of these players up, and he's given them minutes at the right time. He's found them in form at the right time. You know, Pat you can look at, Pascal, even Melier to a point. You know, what he's done with Archie. I thought Joseph looked like a championship player when he played against Plymouth midweek. I thought it was pretty good. You know, so what he's done with Dan James. I mean, Dan James's rebirth has been, you know, nuts. Really. Summerville, I think, is taking him on another level. You have got to remember the standard that we're playing at, because some of these players were playing Premier League football last season and weren't good enough, and are now playing Championship football and are better. You know, they're more than good. So that it stands to reason that the opposition that they're playing week in, week out is a lot less in quality. So it makes sense that they're going to look better. But I still think it's a different job in going out there and doing it. I remember when Stoke came down and they had that unbelievable team, and look at how difficult of a job Gary Rowett had there. You know, it takes a proper man manager to be able to rebuild that and get the players back on side and believing in a structure and a system again. You know, Bielsa had to work tirelessly to get them players to do what he wanted them to do. And Daniel Farke, in many ways, has done exactly the same thing again. You know, Ellen Road's a difficult place to play. When the crowd's starting to pick up and get a bit restless, that's hard. And you have to really be you know, behind a manager's plan to be able to stick to that. So yeah, fair credit. All the credit belongs to Daniel Farke, really, and obviously the players, but he's done a great job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Skip, has it ever happened where 3 relegated teams from the Premier League all get promoted back the next season? I don't recall it. I don't think it's ever happened, has it? But I just don't think.
I would guess it has, but I couldn't tell you when it has.
Think of any time.
I'll have a quick look while you chat a minute.
Yeah, Michael Brown. I don't think Gruev or Ampadu come anywhere close to Calvin Phillips. Oh, now see that is an interesting one, because Calvin Phillips in the Championship under Bielsa was supreme, and it's a real tricky one, is that, because Calvin's one of my favourite Leeds players of all time, to be honest. That's a tricky one, isn't it, Jason? Gruev, Ampadu, Phillips. Phillips was supreme, wasn't he? He was definitely Premier League standard. But
we spoke about this on the debate midweek. KP is specific, so he's a specific role player. Would he come into this system and do the job that Gruev and Ampadu are doing as well as what they're doing it? Because KP for me is almost like a halfback. He's an out-and-out number 4 who picks the ball up and sprays balls left and right. He's good in the tackle. He reads the game really, really well. But would he work in the same way that Gruev is? I'm not sure. I think he could adapt to it. But that's why he struggled so much at City, because he weren't able to adapt into being a midfielder in a different role. Whereas Bielsa, it was perfect. You know, it was a perfect storm for him in that team, really. So I'm not going to argue with that point, because Calvin's an England international, proving it at the Premier League for Leeds. You know, like Gruev and Ampadu have got a long way to go to do that. But I'd say that Ampadu has got a similar ceiling. Bear in mind his age, he's 22, 23. He's quite a bit younger than KP. I would say that Ampadu's got huge potential. And I mean, I love Gruev. What a player he is. Player he is. Like I've said this before, if he was quicker, he'd be a Premier League player right now. The only thing that stops him from being a top player is his pace.
Is he good enough for the Premier League if we get up? Is he good enough to stay in that role? Can he kind of develop you can't develop pace, I suppose, but you know, can he improve to a level where he's good enough? It's tricky.
I don't know. I really don't know, because I love everything that he does, but he's able to do it because the pace doesn't hamper him enough in this division, because the players around him are not lightning quick, whereas in the Premier League the pace of the game in the midfield is so much quicker. He struggles with his right foot as well. He really struggles with his right foot. If it's on his left, he's fine, but so I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Getting back to yesterday's game, rather, the first goal. I mean, you talk about the referee missing stuff. I mean, what a celebration as well. Did you kind of, when you first saw that going, were you like, oh, it's handball, definitely, like, it's 100% handball?
I just waited for it to, I just waited for it to be called, and then I kind of convinced myself that he'd not touched it. So that's why the referee had given it. It had just gone straight in. But he very clearly did. I mean, it's just a bizarre goal. And I mean, again, when I talk about the refereeing standards, it's not like I'm being biased. It was both ways. I mean, it was a terrible decision. It was handball all day. And I mean, Pat then wheels away, celebrating the fact that he'd scored it with his elbow as well, which is pure shithousery. I mean, if you're the referee, you just at that point be like, oh, okay, handball. I don't know what to say. I mean, it was typical of Pat in it. But what do you say about it? I mean, like I say, I don't feel sorry for Rotherham, because at the end of the day, I think we'd have gone on to win the game regardless. Absolutely. Goals change games, I get that, but I mean, not long after that, we should have had a Stonewall penalty. You know, it is what it is. It happens, doesn't it? We had it earlier on this season where West Brom, you know, shouldn't have had a goal at Ellen Road. Yeah. You know, that was clearly handball and it was missed. So it happens, doesn't it?
It does. It does indeed. Then it was time for Mr. Summerville to come into it. And I mean, the penalty. I saw Farker's comments after he was saying he doesn't understand the young players and why they do these things. But I mean, what season this guy is having. I mean, he's just exceptional. I mean, the speed, the close control. I mean, you know, for that, his first goal yesterday, the way he takes that ball, and I mean, how do you stop a player like that? Really, I mean, it's just when he's on it. I mean, he has been on it for the majority of this season.
They can't deal with him, can they? They just can't deal with him. He's just, I mean, he is a Premier League player, really. He's one of probably maybe 5 or 6 that are out and out Premier League players. He could slot straight into a lot of Premier League teams and not look out of place. It can be hit and miss sometimes. It can go missing in games, but the big difference with Summerville is that at any point he can change a game. Even when he isn't having a good game, he can just flip it and change a game. He was excellent yesterday. He tormented them all game, to be honest. He was having fun. He got quite a bit of time rested yesterday, as he did. He didn't start the game against Plymouth, which I think is good. I think he needed a bit of a rest because he did have a few stagnant performances. Even still, he was contributing. But I thought it was excellent, mate. It was excellent. It wasn't my man of the match. My man of the match was Rutter. I know Summerville got it. But it was excellent.
So what man of the match, why Rutter? And obviously we've spoken about what type of player he is and how well he did yesterday. He's just something else, isn't he?
He just completely ran the game. I mean, he completely ran the game. He was bossing 2-3 Rotherham players off the ball. I mean, his work rate, he was tracking back and dispossessing Rotherham and then starting attacks on his own. He opened them up 5, 6, 7 times. He literally could have had 5 or 6 assists on the day. He could have had a couple of goals as well. I wish he'd just keep his composure when he gets towards the edge of the box. He just shanks them over the bar. But mate, I mean, he put 2 or 3 through for Pat. It was just unbelievable. I mean, there were a long ball over the top to him where he killed it first touch and then tried to turn it back on inside. I don't know if you've seen that one, onto his left foot, and the keeper kind of smothered it. I mean, it's just a freak of a player. He's so good, and he was quick yesterday. He just looks like he's having a blast the whole time. It's just like he's having a blast, and teams just can't deal with him. He's a cheat code. It's an absolute cheat code. And every week I see him play the 10, I retract what I said previously about him not having the out and out skill. I thought he could do a job there. I didn't realize that he could do it to the ability that he is, because he's doing it. He's doing it without the intricacies that a normal number 10 has. You know, you think of when Buendia was in the Championship as an example. He was a Premier League player all day in the Championship, but he stood out in them little half spaces. I never thought that Rutter could really do that, and he's adding that to everything else that he can do as well. He's just so good. It's so much fun to watch as well.
I wonder if he'll be able to transfer that to the Premier League if we get there again. I'm always having a caveat if I say if we get there, but I mean, his ceiling is huge. I mean, do you know what? I actually think, some people, I think there's this thing around Jorginho where it was like, Oh, he wasn't very good when he came in January last year.
I've heard this too. He didn't play.
He played against. Do you remember when he played against Fulham in the FA Cup? He was actually really good. Alan Shearer on comms was digging him out. But so unnecessary, so off was Alan Shearer.
He had the header, didn't he, that hit the post that day? I think
he
had a chip as well.
Yeah. It was honestly, he got absolutely nothing. Like, he got no game time at all. Like, and it was almost like, oh, he's got work to do this season. I was like, what? Has he?
I think he'll end up playing out on the wing. I feel almost certain that if we got to the Premier League, we would replace the 10 position and he would end up playing right wing. That's why.
What did you think of him yesterday in that right wing position? He
didn't play on the right. He played on the left yesterday. So when Pirot came on, Summerville went off and Gio went on the left, and Nonto stayed on the right. And I mean, again, he offers the same things out there that he offers in the middle, really. You just get more space. I think he'll end up out on the right because he's naturally left-footed. It'll allow him to cut in, but because he's strong on the right, he can go down the wing, go down the side as well. But I think he'll end up playing in them positions because with a bit more space, I think he's deadly. When he's got space to run into, teams can't handle it, and he's managing to develop that at the moment in a central position where there is less space, but the players are not as good. Whereas when he then plays in the Premier League, he's going to have to deal with better defensive midfielders on the weekly. Like, every single game, he's going to have better opposition in them areas. That's why I think he'll end up probably replacing Dan James on the right if we were to go up this season, and Dan James will end up being Impact. That's what I think, because I feel certain that they would go out and replace the 10 role, not Gio in himself, but the 10 role that we didn't have at the beginning of the season, did we? So
no, not at all. No, absolutely. So yesterday it leaves us in this position, still third, but kind of getting ahead of Ipswich now, kind of putting daylight between ourselves and Ipswich, hot on the heels of Southampton. And we can't go through the stream without mentioning what happened yesterday with Southampton. It was a game where I was thinking, well, you know what? Huddersfield beat Sheffield Wednesday a week before 4-0. They haven't got a permanent manager. There's a bit of the unknown there. You know, they may be able to throw up a result, but probably won't do. But when it went 1-0 and then 2-0 to Huddersfield, I mean, you knew it was too early. You knew in the back of your mind it was too early. But just for a moment, when we were winning and Southampton were losing 2-0, I thought, oh, here we go.
I thought about tagging that Southampton statistics in something, saying with the us second, them third, and saying, oh yeah, we're not in the race anymore. But I thought, no, I'm going to hold back. I never fully believed that they would win the game yesterday, Huddersfield, even at 2-0. As much as I was enjoying it, I never fully believed it. They are they're poor. They're a poor side. But as we said just before coming on, I think that this has shown a huge chink in their armour. Huddersfield are not a good side. Similar to Rotherham, you know, there's a few teams down there very similar. It's shown a big chink in their armour that hopefully, you know, a bit of vulnerability that they can hopefully drop points over the coming weeks. And the facts are, and I'm going to keep saying this, right now, regardless of the game in hand, it's in our hands. It's in our hands. We have Southampton to play. Southampton are not going to win all their games. Now, you could say, well, Jade, Leeds are not going to win all their games either. The facts are we look like we could. Yeah. Like, we literally look like we could. Now, it's a tall ask. It is a tall ask. But it's Southampton will be saying the same thing, that they're not, you know. So, for me, we just keep on rolling out these performances. We've got that target right in front of us. It's there. Literally, we can touch it. And the second that Southampton drop points, we are there to capitalise on it. Because it's going to happen. You know, 2-0 down and then 3-2 down at home to Huddersfield shows that teams can get at them.
Yeah, because for me, it's the goals they're conceding as well. So they've conceded 9 more goals than Leeds. And I think it tells a little story, or I'm hoping it tells us a little story, the fact that leaking a little bit of goals. I remember Ipswich going on a similar thing where they had some extraordinary, like 3-2. It seemed to be 3-2 every week to Ipswich, where they'd go behind and then they'd pull it back. And when you start getting into those type of games, sometimes it can signify that there is a chink in the armour and it's not this kind of unstoppable machine that's going to steamroller for the rest of the season. So hopefully hopefully it does show that they are vulnerable in that way and we can overturn it, because at the minute, I mean, what XG are teams doing against Leeds at the moment?
It's not. There's a couple of comments there that kind of budge on it. So Mark and Gail have just said similar things, basically saying, and this is the facts. Like, if you have a look over the 31 games of this season, Leeds are top of the league for XG. So we should have scored the most goals. We're top of the league for XG points. We're top of the league for chances against us created. So we allow the opposition to create the least chances. We are literally the best team in the division on paper when it comes to statistics. We have the most possession. We have the most. I think possession is Southampton, because that's just how
Russell
Martin plays the game. But in terms of the ones that actually do kind of point towards points, we're top of all of them. Now, the facts are is football's not played on paper. Like, you still have to put the ball in the back of the net. And this is what Daniel Farke was saying midweek about us being wasteful in front of goal. And he's absolutely spot on. But we were like this under Bielsa. We needed 10 chances on goal to score one. And it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. But the facts are is right now we're dominating on both ends of the pitch. We go out and we absolutely. I make the point about us being more controlled and dominant than the Bielsa team. We are, because in the Bielsa system, we always attacked. We were always going forward looking for the goal. We don't always do that now. We build up play in a slightly different way, especially when we're leading games. It has caused us to be a little bit complacent at times. That has been an issue. And then when they get caught by the one cross that the opposition team put in, I think about Coventry at home. I mean, Ben Sheaf, man, he's a centre-back, and he ended up scoring a header. Like, how did that happen on a counter-attack? It was just crazy. But there was complacency, and we ended up drawing that game 1-1 out of nowhere. So, for me, I think we're the best team in the division. I really do. I think we're the best team to watch in the division as well, maybe with Ipswich. But the facts are is that Ipswich right now they are clawing on by the fingernails to stay in this race. They've got nothing left, really. They're starting to fall down into where they really should be. And that's not to be disrespectful. They came up from League One last season. They'll probably end up in the playoffs. And they'll have a good run at it in the playoffs because they've got some good players. But they're not at the same level as the three above them. They're just not.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Looking ahead, as this race kind of hots up, it's a very quick turnaround for Leeds and Southampton. Leeds, it's Swansea up next, and away journey to Swansea, and Southampton, they've got Bristol away. It's kind of whoever blinks first, isn't it, at the moment? Obviously, we've got points to chase down. They've got a game in hand. They've got some tough games coming up as well. I mean, if you look ahead, they've got a quick turnaround to Friday. They've got a very difficult trip to then West Brom Friday night, and Tuesday to Friday, not easy. I mean, every game, it really is a case we've just got to keep doing what we're doing at the moment, haven't we? And not let any form of complacency kick in.
Game at a time, mate. 15 games to go. Like, I know it seems crazy, but I truly believe that we can win them all. I do. I made the point in the group yesterday about the Bayer Leverkusen form that they're showing this season. They're doing it at the very, very top of the German ladder, beating Bayern Munich at the moment. I think it's 21 wins, 4 draws, no losses. Like, it's an insane level of consistency. And they're doing it at the top of their, tree in their division. Our team really is a Premier League team at the top of the division below. So unless we're playing Leicester and Southampton, and I know football, it has ways of throwing things up, but most weeks we should be going out there and winning every single game because the team is that much better than everybody we've had. Rotherham yesterday, their best player is Morrison and Lee Peltier and Jordan Hugel. It's a different... the gap is massive. It's absolutely massive. I mean, what were Morrison doing Leeds salute for yesterday, by the way? Did you see that? What the hell was that all about?
Because someone was saying, is he a Leeds fan? Is he winding the crowd up or what? But it was just
like he were having giving it some on it. Like he were enjoying himself.
It's like, can you sign me, please?
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It was bizarre. Yeah.
But the levels are just
miles apart. So when you're asking these teams to take points from us, they're having to play so far above themselves to get there. And that's why more and more we see in these games which are just so one-sided. Preston, but when they were back at home, it was domination, really. And we're seeing this week in, week out. We are completely dominating games on the whole. Not every week, but 3 out of 4 we're completely dominating. Then we'll have a Norwich at home, which will squeeze past 1-0 or whoever.
No, exactly. I mean, if we want to compare fixtures, Jason, all right, they've got that 1 point advantage and the game in hand. But I mean, if you look at Leeds' next few fixtures, let me just pull these up here. So we've got obviously Swansea. We've got another trip to Plymouth, who we beat resoundingly in the cup. We've got obviously a very difficult game against Leicester, but it is at home, and I feel like with Leicester, it's like, so this weird narrative built around Leicester this last kind of couple of weeks where fans a bit unhappy with the football. Maresca's, he's had a little dig back at the fans and whoever. It doesn't seem, as kind of rosy as it should for a team that has absolutely dominated and done unbelievably well this season. And, they are 12 points, obviously clear above us, but I mean, they could go on a wobble. We don't know. They could happen, couldn't it? I mean, are they that good? I don't even know if they're that good. I mean,
I've watched them a few times this season, and I truly believe that what Maresca's done is he set them up in a way where they are almost, with the level of ability that they've got, again, talking about that gap between the teams that they're playing most weeks, they are just so much better that eventually they will then go on to win the game in the style of play that they're playing. That won't work in the Premier League. I would almost back my house on Maresca being one of the first managers that's sacked next season, because it will not work. But in this division, it will, because the gaps are big between the players that they have and the players that are in the opposition's team on the day. So they don't worry me any more than Norwich coming to Ellen Road, or we've seen. I think Norwich are the best team that we've seen at Ellen Road this season. I'd say the Norwich performance at Ellen Road was better than the Leicester performance at the King Power, when we beat them 1-0. They had one chance on the day.
We were much better than Leicester.
Yeah,
much
dominated the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should have won by more, really. It could have easily been 2 or 3. Melly made a great save at the end, which you sometimes need. You keep it to dig you out in the last minute of an away game when you're only winning 1-0. Yeah, comfortable, really comfortable, mate. So I'm not worried by that game. I will feel exactly the same about that game as I did yesterday, like every other game. Southampton, I think, are a bit different. I think Southampton are the best team that we've seen play against us this season. But I think we were really poor that day.
Yeah, so, we were complete off day, wasn't it? And that was a bit of a springboard for them, wasn't it? Because they were under pressure, weren't they?
Well, they'd lost 4 in a row going into that.
Kicking yourself with Leeds, aren't you, really? Because we were ahead of them at that point, and it was, it was a time to push on. But anyways, after that Leeds, and we got Huddersfield, we got Stoke, we got Sheffield Wednesday. So you get a general vibe of what our fixtures are. Southampton, though, you're looking, they've got obviously the away trip to West Brom, they've got Hull. They've got Leicester themselves away from home. They've got Sunderland, Middlesbrough.
They've got Ipswich to play as well.
To Ipswich, so it's, if you're looking purely at the fixtures, obviously they've got to play us at Ellen Road on that last day of the season as well. Which position would you rather take? Would you rather take their points and their fixtures, or would you rather have a bit of a deficit but our fixtures?
I think I'd rather take our position. I'd rather be the chaser than the chasee. Personally, running into this, and I think our fixtures are really favourable. I think we've played most of the tough games. I mean, we've played Leicester away and won. We've played Southampton away and lost. We've played Ipswich twice. We've played Hull away. We've played West Brom both home and away. Sunderland away. Have we played them at home?
Yeah. So away we played Sunderland.
Away we lost
them at home.
Yeah. So, but the teams up and around us, I think we've played most of them. Certainly all of them away. So they've just got to come to Ellen Road. I mean, Ellen Road right now is a fortress. I mean, Daniel Farke keeps on breaking record after record of unbeaten runs and goals not conceded and all the rest of it. And it's super impressive, because I said this to you last week, considering the atmosphere at Ellen Road and how bad the form was last season. I mean, to rebuild that has been super impressive, really.
Yeah.
And we've not, apart from the opening game of the season, we've not looked like we're going to lose at home.
No,
So,
we haven't. It's been so impressive. I guess the only not concern. I mean, if we're trying to find something that we're a little bit is the fact that we've got some Yorkshire derbies away from home. So we've got Huddersfield away, we've got Sheffield Wednesday away. I know it's not technically Yorkshire, but we've got Middlesbrough away. That's the only kind of thing I can see where, because it's a bit of a derby and there's a lot of hatred towards Leeds from those clubs, that it could add that spice to the game that perhaps knocks us off kilter a little bit. But we don't look like we're going to.
I think that
kind of thing, do we?
The facts are, Brownie, right? Like, again, if you're going to get promoted, you're going to finish one of them top 2 spots. You have to go into them games. We all have them. Every single team has them. We have to go into them banana skins and come out with it with a win. I remember when the season that we went up under Bielsa, we went to Middlesbrough and won 1-0. Really tight, horrible game. Yeah. Click scored a chance after it had been rebounded about 5 times, came off the post and went in. We went to Huddersfield that season and turned them over. I can't remember if Sheffield Wednesday. I can't remember what we did Sheffield Wednesday. But the point is that you have to go into them games and come out of it with the 3 points. You have to do what you need to do to show your superiority and come out. And I mean, that gap has never been bigger. You were talking about the difference between the Bielsa team and this team earlier. Bielsa took that team into them games and came out with the 3 points. This team should be able to do exactly that, given the quality difference that we have between the two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just looking then, because one of the games that, we talking about these away games, obviously Millwall, historically we always struggled with Millwall.
Went there and ran them over, didn't we?
We ran him over, not an issue at all.
Just answer the question from earlier. There's never have all 3 relegated teams come right back up at the first time of asking, and only 5 times in 27 seasons have 2 teams bounced back. So it looks like that's going to happen this season. Interesting. Never happened.
I think as well, because when you're looking at the clubs that came down as well, I mean, Leicester, obviously Premier League winners and FA Cup winners not that long ago, they probably look at it and go, there's never in a million years should they have got relegated, got themselves relegated from a situation like that. Southampton, Premier League stalwarts, been there a long time, and really kind of shot themselves in the foot as well. And then you look at Leeds as well, the fact that it was our 3rd season in the Premier League, and by then we should have been getting comfortable, and it imploded as well. So 3 huge teams historically, and there was a good chance it was going to be like this, just with the quality of the teams coming down.
All 3 of us gave, particularly Nottingham Forest, an absolute free pass at staying up. I mean, we absolutely bottled it. Yeah, but between the 3 of us, especially us and Leicester, because Southampton were dross last season. They were like, let's not rewrite history. And we were, to be fair, especially second half of the season, we were really, really poor. But that was because of recruitment and everything else that was going on behind the scenes. Finishing the season with Sam Allardyce in charge says everything, doesn't it? Yeah. But between the 3 of us, we absolutely let them off the hook. We let Everton off the hook because of how dire their situation had been. And we arguably let Bournemouth off the hook as well, because I know Bournemouth ended up finishing quite securely. But if they'd have been in the bottom 3 earlier on in the season, the pressure's then different, the circumstances and situations are different, and they were pretty crap last year as well. So, I think we made it easy for them teams to stay up last season, really. But it's never been stronger. The top of the Championship has never been this strong. Never.
No. You wonder if those 3 teams go back into the Premier League, though, how much tougher the Premier League's going to be basically next year. And that quest for survival next year is when it all kind of kicks in. I was chatting to a Leeds fan yesterday, and we were saying it's, if you get promoted from a Championship, you're buzzing, obviously. And then that reality kicks in the Premier League, where you might win 1 out of every 6 or 7 games. You're back into that whole cycle. But hopefully with Farke, hopefully it can be a little bit different. Obviously, Leeds are making more moves. They've got another director on board, haven't they? Football recruitment. What's it? Is it not director of football? What is his? It's the guy
head of recruitment, is it?
Just head of recruitment, isn't it? So they're expanding things. Hopefully, putting stuff in place to go. What do you think from a recruitment position at this stage of the season, what are you gambling on? What are you looking at recruitment-wise? Are you recruiting for the Premier League, Championship? Are you doing both? I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because
it's real tough.
Dominoes have to fall, don't they?
I think they'll probably have lists for both, and they'll be having conversations with players that would probably fall into both. And there'll be some players that'll be like, yeah, regardless what division you're in, I'll come. If you're in the Premier League, I will. If you're in the Championship, I won't. I think any signing that we make has to be with the Premier League in mind, regardless of what division we're in. And because you need to be able to be then self-sufficient when you get there. And I'd say that most of this squad has been put together with that kind of mindset. I don't think any single one of them players that have signed for us this summer, and Connor Roberts even, sees themselves as Championship players. I think they see themselves as Premier League players in waiting. So, yeah, it's a tough one though, because we've got the added situation with all these loans and what happens with them depending on what division we're in. So, yeah, let's not deal with the stress of that. Let's come back to that.
No, that is going to be the interesting thing as well. It's not really going to be like if it happens when we got promoted in 2018, because that was just celebrating the fact that we were going back up, and it was like a bit of the unknown. We didn't know, we didn't know how Bielsa team would do in the Premier League, etc. Whereas this time, I think it's going to be, we'll celebrate, and it'll be literally the Monday after we're back on it. We're just going at it full time, because you say there's going to be things to figure out with those returning loans. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating. As Mark says here, though, let's hope we're top two, as we don't do well in the playoffs. That's the other thing. Like I'm like nervous about playoffs, even though we'd probably be the best team in them.
Mate, I don't have the trepidation about the playoffs. I mean, I've been to. I went to the. Both the games in the Championship and then the final against Watford. I went to both the games against Millwall when we lost in the semis. I went to both the games in the semi-finals in League One when we then lost to Donny in the final. I've seen them all. I know all the pain. Both the Preston home and away in the Championship before the Watford game. I've had all the excitement and the pain of the Championship, the pain of the playoffs. But the fact that this team are not them same teams, and I don't buy into this kind of hoodoo, we don't do well in the playoffs thing, because it's just different. Arguably we do all right in the playoffs because we've got to quite a few finals. The finals are a different situation, and this team has got so much character. I think about a Summerville in the final, or a Rutter in the final, or a Dan James or a Nonto. These players. They won't worry about the pressure. They'll just be wanting to make their statement and their name on the game. So I don't worry about it. Like, if we lose on the day, I'll be absolutely heartbroken and be gutted, but it'll be because it'll be deserved. Like, it won't be because of any hoodoo.
No, well, that's it. I mean, I know that's the thing, and that's the only thing, though, is I think if that happened, we got to playoffs, I think that's all the players will hear about from journalists and from fans and everything. Will be, oh God, the playoffs, and then does it plant that seed in their head?
That's on Daniel Farke to man manage that. Then it's on Daniel Farke to man manage that and get the best out of the players. Before Bielsa, it was Leeds always choke it, and then we didn't choke it under Bielsa. You know what I mean? Like, so like, when does that stop? You know what I mean? We always choke it, the Leeds, and then we didn't under Simon Grayson with 10 men against Bristol Rovers. You know what I mean? Like, so there's always these moments. So if it's playoffs, I just hope it doesn't have to be, because it's easier. It's nice not to have that pain. The pain of the Derby game, as an example, still lives with me now to a point. But
hopefully. I mean, because like as Gail says here, I think probably you mean fourth, but can you imagine finishing 15 points ahead of Ipswich or something, and they not going up? You just
and losing West Brom, who finished sixth or something like that.
Yeah, there we go. Easy. Why so negative? We're going up automatic, maybe as champions. Hopefully, we'll wait and see.
I don't think anybody's been negative.
It's just
it's a bit of realism, isn't it? Yeah, well, it's a bit of realism. I mean, Southampton's form has been incredible. They're 22 unbeaten or something now. They've not lost since September. It's an unbelievable run. So I don't think anybody's been negative. It's just given how strong the top of the championship is. It feels like we might miss out, even though we're playing so well and picking up so many points.
Yeah, no, indeed. looking specifically towards Tuesday then and Swansea, they've not had obviously a great season, but they did get a really good win against Hull away yesterday. Fantastic win for them. What do you think? Is that a tricky one for us? I mean, it's it's not great, is it? But if we show our quality,
you got Mr. Pirro going back, haven't you? And Connor Roberts, Joe Rodon, Ampadu, being a Welshie, and a couple of connections there. Dan James, I was fairly impressed by him at Ellen Road earlier on this season. I thought first half they were pretty good.
Is that the goal they scored the lob straight away over Melia? Was it?
Yeah,
it was.
That was Swansea. Yeah. So I think it'll be a tricky game. Liberty Stadium's always been a tricky one to go to. So yeah, I would imagine it'll be a tough game, but I think we come through it, mate. 1-0, 2-1, something like that. I think it'll be tight though.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to look at this name twice then. Don James. If we lose a player final, it'll be missed chances that cost us exactly. Gail, a bit worried about the Swansea game there as well. Easy. We've got the most talented team since the early 2000s. Yeah, indeed.
I don't know about that. I know what you're getting at. I still think the Bielsa Premier League team season 1 starting 11, given the fact that we had a world-class player in Rafinha in it, I would probably just edge for that one, only just. But I think it's close. I think you make a good point. In that season, Llorente, I know he's a bit of a bomb scare, but he played pretty well. Spanish international. And we had Luke Hale in at his absolute peak. We had
Melier was very good then.
Melier was very good. Yeah, Cooper was arguably at his peak that season. KP was his peak. Dallas, I think Dallas fully fledged centre midfield. Dallas under Bielsa is a Premier League player. I would say that he was then. He won't be now, but he was then. And like I say, Rafinha, Pat, was excellent that season. I think it'd be hard to say that team wasn't better than this one.
Yeah,
just
have a look at West Ham. They're playing out there, and it looks like Phillips is benched again. Oh dear. Hopefully that won't be too long there. Hopefully he does get some minutes and doesn't give a goal away this time. Jason, anything else we want to cover off before we disappear, mate?
I think we have all the reasons to be super optimistic. If you're watching these games and not enjoying them, I think you're just going about it the wrong way. We're absolutely dominating these teams. Enjoy it while it's there. As much as I do want to be in the Premier League, it's good to sometimes just look back at the pain that we had over the last 2 seasons and just think, this season's not the end of the world while we're enjoying winning most weeks. We might have slip-ups along the way, but so will Southampton.
Sorry to interrupt, but I actually had that feeling this week where I was like, I'm enjoying it for what it is. We're scoring great goals. We've got really good players. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
Harmony. There's a harmony in the club. There's a good feeling. I love all the Welsh kind of connection things and the relationship between Ampadu and Rodon being celebrated by the club, and all of that is brilliant. Firpo getting an unsarcastic, I think is the right way to put it, chant and celebration of his performances. The rebuilds of some of these lads. I've had a hard time about it. We heard the story about Pat last week, which, if anybody is listening that was part of that, you're an absolute moron. There's nothing else to say on it. It's football at the end of the day. And as much as I love my club and love the game, that's somebody's life. What's wrong with you? But to rebuild back on that and be celebrating back in front of the crowd, and I just think we've come so far in such a short period of time, and the boys and Daniel Farke deserve huge credit. And just this next 15 games, just enjoy the ride as much as you possibly can. Enjoy the performance.
I believe it's only 15 games. Only 15 games till end of season. How?
Gone quick right this season. Gone really quick.
They get quicker and quicker, I tell you. We'll just leave you with this before we go.
Good old Diego Bamadonna. Go on, lad. I just love the fact that he celebrated it. I love the fact that he gave it the elbow. It's just hilarious. He's
having fun, isn't he, Pat? He's having fun. He scores an absolute worldie in the FA Cup. He gets back into the team. He's getting the goals. He's got himself a Maradona goal. I mean, it's
he
just
deserves massive credit, mate.
Yeah,
massive credit, because me, like I'd say probably 95% of the fan base had written him off.
Yeah,
I writ him off because of his injury record. I didn't think he'd be able to rebuild back into this. And the facts are, I mean, he's coming out week in, week out at the moment. He's not needing rest. His body looks fit. He looks strong again. He looks stronger up top. He looks confident. And he's really, really. You could argue that the change in form since the West Brom and the Preston games are down to him.
Yeah,
you could argue that, and I think obviously there's other moving parts attached to it. But him coming into the team over Pirro, we've won every single league game since.
Yeah, speaks volumes. It really does. Just a quick word as well on Junior Firpo yesterday. You mentioned about the chant, obviously. How was he? I
thought it was good.
Yeah,
I thought it was good. I mean, again, yesterday he had to do no defending. Apart from the first 5 minutes, he had a little bit to do when they went down that side, because it was clear that there was targeting the left side. But he dealt with it all right. And then I'd say after that, it was good, because going forward, I mean, he's a real threat. He got the assist for the first. I think he had a build up in the penalty. It was good. He was good. Like, awesome. I have never criticised him going forward. I always thought he looked okay going forward. Defensively, he's just terrible. But he has improved. But again, we have to put it in the context of the players that he's playing against. But I'm a massive fan of supporting any player that plays for Leeds. Absolutely. So, get behind it as much as possible, sure.
Absolutely. Myself and Jason, we will be back Tuesday night after the Swansea game for an instant match reaction to that one. Let's hope we're as smiling as much as we are today. Please do check the channel out tomorrow night. We've got the West Yorkshire show roundup. It's episode 7. All the lads will be on. We'll be covering everything from the Championship right down to non-league. Jason, are you on that tomorrow? Are you on tomorrow's show? You're not sure yet?
Probably. Yeah, I've got a busy work day planned, but I'm planning to be, if I'm home, I might switch on at some point and just have a quick little Leeds debrief again. So yeah, catch us there. Be good to see you all in, supporting the boys, even when everybody else is talking. You know, when Steve Down starts talking town, just give it all Leeds comments. They let us down yesterday, didn't they?
Actually, Arthur, who watches quite a lot of our videos, we really appreciate it, because whenever Steve's on, Arthur drops a comment in about how rubbish town are. And it is much appreciated, Arthur, I promise you. We don't always flash it up, but it is appreciated. Guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please do pop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well for more content. And myself and Jason will be back in a couple of days' time for another Leeds United game, hopefully another win as well. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays, and thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.